I am super excited to share this group of fantastic women with you today. So, Dana, welcome. We're delighted to have you and are eager to have you share with our colleagues about your new book, Parent Nation, and the movement you hope it will inspire. I am turning it over to you.
Thank you so much. Sarita, if we could just clone you and your energy, like, seriously, you could energize this whole country and world. So thank you so much. I do want to make clear that this, as you say, wait 1 second. This bold, audacious vision, as you call it, this is your vision. I've just put it together in a book, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, but I really want to emphasize that this is not mine. This is all of ours, and we're just trying to lift it up so that the country beyond our own confines gets it and joins us. So thank you so much. I'm especially thankful for amazing partners at Be Strong Family, for Kathy Wolf, President and CEO. Thank you for your support. Sarita, thank you. Tammy, everyone who was part of the Anticoria, thank you so much. I'm especially excited about this meeting because just a month ago, you all were coming together around the beta testing of the parent villages, and I was just incredibly inspired. So thank you. First, I really want to make clear, that like you all, Zoom is not my natural habitat. As Sarita mentioned, I'm actually most comfortable in the operating room or in the clinic room with patients. My day job is as a pediatric physician and cochlear implant surgeon. But as I told Sarita yesterday, please call me Dana, no Dr. Dana, unless you want any medical advice, which is free. But I want to share a little bit about my story and why I wrote this book, and importantly, why I believe that we together can help push forward the change that is so needed in this country, where every child is supported, where every parent is supported. This is what you all have been fighting for, and I think the time has come. So let me just tell you a little bit before we really dive into the exciting part of the village and the partnership and the incredible work that Yoli is pushing forward. So a little bit about myself. I'm an ENT and cochlear implant surgeon. And why did I become this? Because my fascination for the brain. People often think that hearing is all about the ears, but of course it's about the brain. And this became very clear early in my practice when I started, providing cochlear implants for children born deaf and seeing these huge differences in outcomes in my patients. It turned out that the ability to hear didn't always unlock children's full capacity to learn and thrive. It was a really painful difference to observe, and trying to figure out what I could do so that all my patients could reach their potentials and what I could do to best help support patients, I began a journey far outside the operating room, into the world of social sciences, into the world of community. That's why I'm here. Most of my surgeon colleagues wouldn't even know how to talk outside the operating room. I shouldn't say that, but it's been an incredible journey. And what did I learn? I learned in my trying to figure out how to give all my patients a chance to thrive. I learned about this rich body of literature that shows us the importance of the early language environment. As Sarita mentioned, the science that shows that language input, particularly that nurturing back and forth conversation with a parent or caregiver, really stimulates every part of an infant's brain and shapes their lifelong capacity for learning. It is an evolutionary gift, a really short period of time, a short window where we can either set up a child for success in life by nurturing their foundational brain development or not. And that fundamental idea is what guides most of my work. So in 2010, I launched what was called the 30 Million Words Initiative, and now it's called the TMW Center for Early Learning in Public Health. At that time, as it is now, my primary goal was to help ensure the healthy development of all children and give every child the ability to reach his or her potential. Brain science always pointed the way. Everything we designed and did was based on the fact that nurturing talk and interaction between caregiver and infant laid the foundation for brain development. It was and always has been about the power of parents, the power of adult nurturing interaction. So, what did we do? We developed evidence-based programs and strategies to help parents see the impact of their talk and interaction with their babies and young children. And the theme of, for those of you all who don't know, the theme of TMW and the center that I run was that to tune in, talk more, take turns, or what we call the 3 T's. Those 3 T's were the basis of how to build a child's brain. The idea was a straightforward approach to a very complex problem, and it was intuitively appealing and a great success. Everybody wanted to learn the 3 T's, and I think many of them thought that this would be a silver bullet. All we needed to do was talk and interact with our kids and teach parents how to do it. But of course, we know that there are no silver bullets. I was and still am very proud to share the 3 T's with many families through the TMW Center program and through my first book, 30 Million Words, Building a Child's Brain. It is at the heart of what we're talking about. And look, we did many rigorous studies of our programs. We found that indeed the strategies worked and the science that supported them was solid and is solid. The programs we promote can and often do improve the lives of children. But as our research programs took us in to more and more families' homes and into their lives, I realized just how much was being asked of parents. And I know you know this all too well. So much was on their shoulders. I was getting to know families up close and over time. And look, they embraced the 3 T's with gusto. They wanted what every parent wants to help their children get off to the first to best possible start. The problem was that the 3 T's only took parents so far. As Sarita said, real life would intrude again and again and again. Well, I met many, many families. There were people like Randy who loved the fact that talking about his love of baseball could help his son learn math, but had to work 2 to 3 jobs and most days had less than 30 minutes with his kids. There was Sabrina, who gave up a well-paying job to care for her husband when he got sick, and whose family ended up spending 2 years in a homeless shelter where she raised her 2 young children, one still a baby, in a stressful and chaotic environment. There was Michael and Kiana, whose life was upended when he was arrested for a crime he didn't commit and sat in jail for 5 years awaiting trial that quickly exonerated him. These families helped me to recognize the enormous hurdles in front of mothers and fathers in our country. I realized with both sadness and resolve that our programs, as powerful as they are, can share with parents the knowledge and powerful skills they need to build their children's brains. But our programs do not substantially change the day-to-day lives of parents who participate. The larger reality of family circumstances, their work constraints, economic stressors, bad luck, or injustices they are subject to all matter as much, if not more, than those 3 T's for building a healthy brain. They either allow for brain building power of parent talk and interaction to occur, or they stifle it like a weed choking off the growth of a garden. And for me, fighting to make sure all of my patients and families that I work with had an equal chance, this was important and powerful realization. But what was really interesting is, as I reflected on what I was seeing, I began to look beyond my patients and the predominantly low-income families who were partnering in the TMW Center programs to the entirety of the tens of millions of parents in the United States who have children. And I saw, regardless of income level, that so many parents are being sidelined to some degree by our country's unfamily-friendly policies. Let's face it, COVID has shined a light on it. And it's not to minimize the Herculean struggles of families who who are born into poverty, or to suggest that more affluent families face equivalent challenges. There is no equivalency. But nonetheless, it remains true that American society has abdicated its role and responsibility to all families. The reality, of course, became painfully apparent as COVID-19 left families reeling. Many parents lost their jobs, and even those among who didn't, the millions, mostly mothers, ended up quitting or cutting back on work hours. Doing it was unsustainable. But months of trying resulted in a high level of emotional distress for parents and their children. And we're just seeing the impacts on the early brain development of children born in the pandemic, and I'm concerned. I mean, after all, we are like at the bare minimum, we don't even have paid parental and family leave. We are the only ones of 38 OECD developed countries that don't mandate it. We're fighting about whether or not we want 4 weeks. Seriously? We spend less on early childhood care and education, which results in this fragmented system that we call childcare. So many of us live in childcare deserts, and in many states, childcare for infants costs more than college. And yet a great majority of parents have to or want to work. Given all of this, and I don't need to tell you this data, but it's been proven in scientific studies, it's not surprising that in the US differs from other countries on another important measure, parental happiness. This is what you're looking at is a figure comparing parental happiness in our country compared to other countries between parents and non-parents. In our country, to put it simply, parents are the least happy. And why? Because they don't have supports. So as I reflected on all of this, and I began to write a new book, which I promise you is my last book, I knew that the world didn't need another how-to book for parents. You can go on the internet and there are 20 million books on how to be, the best parent you can be, though my publisher would have loved it. Instead, I thought, you know what? Maybe a book that shows how the brain science can inform a society, that shows us how a society can work for parents, not against them, that could help shift the narrative and the burdens that so many parents carry. And I named this book Parent Nation. Why? Because I want the focus to be on those who deserve and require support parents. I can't wait for you to read it. And thanks to a generous gift from Hearing First and an educational endeavor of an Ober Carter Foundation, everybody here is eligible to get a free book when it comes out next year. And I cannot wait for you all to read it and get everybody else to read it and get everybody else to get on this wagon for changing this country. And I do want to mention that even though I called it Parent, you all know that I don't just mean biologic parents. I mean aunts and uncles, grandparents, anyone who loves a child, early child care provider. We need to be a parent nation because we need to start valuing those who nurture the next generation. And as I spoke to dozens of parents from all walks of life, I was struck time and time again by how much they have in common. Parents who on the surface looked like they had nothing in common, shared the same deep desires and the same fears and concerns. Ultimately, they just wanted to allow their children and all children to have a fair start. There are so many ways to parent a child. And this book and our work is not about only parenting in one way. This is about supporting parents in the nurturing talk and interaction in the ways that they want, in protection from toxic stress. We know this to be true, but there is an alarming disconnect between what we know that children's brains need and what we do as a society to meet those needs, or more accurately, to allow parents to meet those needs. Because we know at the very moment when parents and children could use the most help, and when that help would have the biggest influence, society does nothing, or worse, it makes it harder. They leave it to parents to figure it out on their own. And you could say, well, how did we end up this way? And I hate to compare. We don't compare children, but when you look around the world, we are so far behind in supporting families, like it's doing people a favor, whereas other countries have realized, you know what, we are building the next generation. How did we end up in this place? Look, the explanation is complex, but one consistent theme runs throughout the choices we've made as a society. This mythic idea of American individualism, this idea that Americans have to be tough and independent prevails, and it perpetuates this going it alone as a virtuous ideal. The result is to convince us, parents, that we should be able to shoulder the enormous responsibility of early child care and development on our own without support. The idea that having a child is like having a puppy. It's something we want to do rather than seeing it as building the next generation. The bottom line is that we have no expectations that society should play a role in helping us to optimize healthy brain development. It's, in fact, seen as a weakness to expect support in parenting our children. So we suffer alone, but we suffer collectively as well. When the ultimate intellectual development of a child is hampered, we all lose. We need to raise our expectations in what we demand of society. So where do we go from here? And I want to say over and over again, this is what you all do day in and day out. We just need to get it outside of our echo chamber. I believe that neuroscience gives us a roadmap. Just as it tells us what to prioritize individually as parents, it can show us where to go society as well. It lays out the coordinates that lead us to the healthy development for all children. Neuroscience tells us that we need to begin when learning begins, not on the first day of school, but the first day of life. It tells us that children's earliest and most impactful brain architects are their parents and caregivers. And it tells us that environment matters. Stable, calm environment that fosters socio-emotional skills, executive function skills, whereas disruptive environments impede their development. In short, developing children need time, enrichment, and protection. And guess what? Parents need and deserve exactly the same thing. Just as children need time with responsive caregivers, parents need time that allows them to be that responsive caregiver. They need parental leave and sick leave. They need predictable work hours and a living wage. Children need enrichment in form of nurturing talk and interaction. Parents need these same things. Just as children need protection from toxic stress that can impede their healthy development, parents need protection from the social forces that impede them to the ability to parent optimally. If neuroscience is our roadmap, it is parents who do the steering. Parents are the captains of their family ships, manning the helm, and every captain needs a crew to help ensure a safe voyage. A parent's crew absolutely must include, this is not just about policies, employers, healthcare providers, schools, communities, and policymakers. Because if the consequences of our broken system are shared collectively, guess what? The solution should be too. Well, all of this is in my book, and I can't wait for you all to read it. We can't assume that too many people will read it, although we've got to spread the word. And that's why, honestly, we're launching this coordinated campaign that we want to partner with you. This is not ours, this is everyone's, to help spread these ideas far and wide, to help bring them to life. Because what I found with my first book is you can write a book and people do with it what they want, but we know what we want to come out of this. We want a different country and a different nation. And, you know, I am so thankful and proud to be partnering with you all and to partner with the incredible Parent Nation team. And I have to tell you, you know, while I may be the doctor, Yoli is not just a campaign director, she is an inspiration and is going to share more about this campaign. This is not any one person, this is all of us. And we are, you know, I won't go into, because I feel like I've been talking too long. I've been giving you that 30 million words. I don't want to waste any more time, but if, you know, everybody always wanted with the first book, tell us about the 3 T's so we can build our children's brains, which I believe in. I'm not making fun of it. Tune in, talk more, take turns. But guess what? The next change is about the 3Fs. We need to foster community. We need to forge collective identity. And guess what? We need to fight for change because we can't wait. We are at a crossroads. I'm getting older. And you know what? I want your children and our grandchildren and our grandchildren's children to have a better world. And at this point, I really want to turn it over to my amazing partner, Yoli Flores. But thank you all so much. My only wish was that we were in person so that we could feed off the energy of each other. But thank you so much. And I'm here for any medical advice as well. Thank you again.